We're here at the nation's biggest home flipping event. You've got to be doing over 50 deals per year or more to be here. So we've brought the podcast studio here so you guys can learn what you can accomplish in even a very short amount of time. Moshik and Avi have been in the business just a few short years and are doing 80 deals per year wholesaling single family homes. Oh, so let me ask you this. So you guys fix and flip and you wholesale, right?
Yeah.
What else do you do?
Well, we now focus mostly on wholesale and less fix and flip. We do a little bit.
Yes. And you're doing a lot of deals, right? You just graduated from CG Select to CG Premier, which means you're doing at least 50 deals a year, right?
Yeah, I think we'll finish probably closer to 80 this year.
Congratulations. That's huge.
Thank you. Yeah, we got to about 1 or 2 deals a week, and we know that in 2025 it would be at least 14 to 15 a month. So
wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, we're gonna get there.
So let me ask you this. It sounds like you guys are gonna start prioritizing social media now.
Yeah.
Why?
I think recruiting is a big part of it. So a lot of the last year and a half we spent building the team, and I think it's a lot easier to get the right people on the team when they have a context of what you're doing inside. And we are really proud of the things we do for homeowners, whether it's taking somebody who's in foreclosure, has no credit, no income, almost impossible to place them in a rental property, and we make it work despite the situation. And so bringing the story that we're doing in the company outside, I think it's something that can really resonate with a lot of people and help us recruit better talent.
Yeah.
Also for the sellers, so we're actually telling the story and telling them exactly how we help and who we help. We have testimonials, and we use social media for that.
People, especially if they're looking for a job, they're going to look you up on social media, and the content doesn't even necessarily need to be viral, but it just needs to share the right message that they're going to be proud of and want to resonate with and share with their friends and tell them that's where they're going to work.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
How big is your team now?
We're 13 people now.
13,
Not including
and
us.
maybe with field 14. So,
Yeah, so you're actually recruiting talent more than you're talking with sellers now, right?
Yeah, I more than. What do you mean by that?
Well, I was just had a hunch that maybe your team is doing the talking with the sellers, and you're more higher level now, focus on recruiting more team members. Correct.
100%. Yeah. That was the goal.
The team does 100%. But I would say if you're listening to this podcast and you're building a business, that's not how you should think about it. I think both of us spent a lot of time getting really, really good at talking to sellers, and also building such a massive pipeline. So when a new person comes, you can give him not only enough leads, but also enough skills that you acquired, now you can teach him. So I think that's one of the things that helped us build a better team, doing the work for a while and then giving it to somebody else to do. And I think a lot of people, and including ourselves at the beginning, kind of like want to skip that phase of the grinding and understanding what it takes. But it's impossible. Like I have a friend that is starting a business now, construction business, and his first thing is like, I want to build a team and I want to bring salespeople. I'm like, dude, you got to do it for a year and a half. Just build cash, build marketing, build sales skills, so you can get other people to do the work that you want them to do. But you got to put the work.
You also need to build a culture. We're very big on culture. This is one of the things we're also focusing on our social media mainly. And this is actually something that we hear from our own employees. Getting the core values and actually representing the core values and being the example and following and showing the team that you actually follow your own core values as an example.
Could you share some of your values?
Yeah, of course. Be kind. We're dealing with a lot of people. We are dealing with people who are in a very bad place in their lives, and sometimes this is it. Our team is the first line of help that they have. So we want to make sure that our team is kind and always have kindness in their mind. We have, you want to go for the second one?
Yeah, assume responsibility, be kind, your thoughts matter, share them. But I want to say something, and there's one more. I want to say something about be kind. So in every interview, we ask the person, so give me an example of a situation where you helped a colleague or a friend or just went the extra mile for somebody, because not because you had to, but because you really cared. And I don't care, you can be the best salesperson on earth, but if you cannot give me an example where you helped somebody and you were kind to somebody because you care about human being in general and you want to be a good friend, then just not the right place for you.
Yeah, if you're doing that frequently, you'd probably have a few instances on the top of your mind.
What's that?
If you're doing that frequently, you probably have a few
Yeah.
instances of that on the top of your
That's
mind.
usually the rule, yeah.
Yeah, and I think with assume responsibility, I mean, even here in CG, they say you got to talk to your team about your core values and remind them that. But I think even better than that is just practice those core values. So it's funny, we barely talk about our core values.
You probably picked people that have that as a DNA part of them. And I know a lot of people use personality tests to try to feel that out. Did you guys use anything like that?
Yeah, we use PI, so predictive index, to get the behavior and also the cognitive assessment to see how fast they can learn things. But with kindness, I think you got to ask the right questions in the interview, but also people don't follow what you tell them to do, they follow what they see you do. So for us, it's like, I have a new guy that I onboarded him 2 months ago. I think by now I said maybe 30 times, it's my fault. I haven't trained you enough here. I haven't explained you that. And he constantly like, no, dude, you're fine. I mean, I need to get better. And so this real back and forth where I always tell him that I need to do better as a leader, but he always comes back like, no, I know I've been working really hard, but not enough. And I think it's beautiful to see. Now I'm able to like take a step back and observe it, but that's really what happens. So we practice that assume responsibility that we tell them that they need to practice as well. Or we don't even tell them. Again, they just see us taking responsibility.
Right. Or if you're the CEO and something is a problem, whether you knew about it or not beforehand, it's your problem because you picked the guy who's actually running that department. So either you picked the wrong person, or you haven't trained him properly, or you allowed him to stay around for too long, right? So it sounds like this guy could have benefited from training or whatever, but he sees you taking ownership, which makes him want to take ownership as well, is a kind of double benefit to the situation.
Yeah. It also takes the blame game out of this entire equation, and this is what we want in our team, to make sure that mistakes will happen. But the only way to actually learn from it is first you take a responsibility. You're not really afraid of any blame game that happens, so that you raise your defense mechanism and think about excuses, and that will completely take away from the ability to learn from it. And we're very big on learning. Just make sure always improving, and the taking responsibility part shown to be a big factor in it, so that we're always improving.
Yeah.
We just an example of that I can think of. I think 9 months ago, the person who's the best guy on the team now screwed up a little bit, and we did too. But nonetheless, we were like, you know what? We screwed it up because we didn't have the right expectation, and we didn't tell you what to do in this specific situation. Although you would argue that he could have done better. Long story short, we ended up hopping on a call with the homeowner, was really upset at him, and we said, hey, this is not this guy's fault. This is our fault. Both of us as a leader on a 4-way call with the homeowner. It was a very uncomfortable situation that we don't like to get to with homeowners. But I think they valued us, the team valued us much more doing that than putting all the shit on them and like blaming them. And then there's the flip side of it. If every day I tell you that it's my fault, then this might not be a good fit. It's probably something wrong. So, and if you don't feel like you need to take back the responsibility for me telling you that, then it might not be a good fit. But thankfully, we don't have that problem on the team.
Right. One of the things you said really resonated with me is that you want to learn how to do it before you bring someone else in to do it for you.
Yeah.
And if you haven't actually put in that time, how will you know if the other person's doing it well or not? I was just talking with a customer who told me they fired their cold caller. And he said they were doing about 300 calls a day. And I was like, man, that seems really low. Have you cold called before? And he said, no. And I was like, well, you could call about 150 people an hour. So if they were doing 8 hours of work and 300 calls, you would have known that and been able to catch this very early on, rather than losing 2 months' time and the pay to go ahead and now have to rehire somebody else, right? Yeah, so that's just one reason why you should really do it first before taking the easy route and hiring someone to do the work you don't want to do. You need to hire to take things off your plate rather than hire to like add capacity. That's something my mentor always told me, and you guys kind of share the exact same mindset.
Yeah, and it's funny, I just had a conversation with Phil Green. They're doing like, I don't know, 60 million plus in San Diego a year, crazy, big company. And he's like, yeah, we started to do entitlement. I learned this whole process, and I really trying to gain as much information as I can. I was like, I would think somebody like you would just hire somebody like at your size that would do this whole thing. And he's like, no, this is such a big new phase for us that I'm actually learning
because it's brand new
before I hire somebody. And so sometimes you think those big CEOs or leaders just hire somebody and it's so easy. No, they actually do the work and they know it probably better than a lot of other people before they hire that person.
Right. Well, that's why I was making my own social media reels like we were talking about at the beginning.
Yeah.
It's because you would think you could hire somebody $55,000 a year to do the videotaping and editing. I just don't want to do that yet until I fully understand what makes a video go viral, what type of effort it takes to videotape it, put that together. And now I'm at the phase where I've done it for a year, had success with 4 or 5 videos with 1 million views, that I'm now ready to have somebody run my process, right? Which is going to be great. As soon as I can get that off my plate, the better. But it's the same concept, and it's so funny with Phil because they are a huge company. He's a big CEO, but he's doing it because it's brand new.
Yeah.
He's got to figure out all the kinks and understand how it works before he brings someone in to take it off his plate.
Yeah, and he talks about going to raise a lot of money, so he takes it seriously. He can't just raise money and not do it right, and I admire that.
Mm-hmm. So who are your mentors besides Phil Green? It sounds like it's been impactful for you here at CG, and you must have just connected with them because you just joined the Premier Group, right?
Right. So are you one-on-one mentors or like more
what we had before?
People that we are looking up to, reading books of, social media, following on social media. So what kind of mentors?
I'm curious, like who just comes to mind, whether you know them personally or you've consumed their content, somebody that you like learn a lot from.
I know that, I'll be honest, the first mentor we had, Vance, I think, he's...
The first was Brent Daniel, but...
we started with Brent Daniel, true. And that he helped us a lot, at least build the foundation. And then we used Vance, and I found him super helpful.
What did you learn from Brent to get started with?
Really the method, all the way down to the script.
Right, have what to say on the phone.
Yeah, what to say on the phone, how to get the team, how to get the rule of thumbs going, really understand the basics of the system. What Vance helped us was with the team. Actually, how now we're getting the team built up, putting the system in place. And we thank CG for really everything that we achieved so far in terms of just being part of the calls and being part of the conferences, etc.
Yeah. What was the biggest thing you learned about the team, right? Because that's just another evolution of your business, is trying to find somebody to do the work.
How hard it is to hire.
Okay.
And so difficult.
Yeah.
And
you're not the only one. I was just thinking about a story I want to share tomorrow when I'm going to present. I have a friend, Jonathan, and he hired somebody to do acquisitions for him. He spent money to send him to Steve Trank's sales training. But then the guy quit and started his own business. So now he says, I'm not going to spend the money and hire somebody. I'm not going to spend the money and train the person I hire. But I'm like, well, what if you hire them and they stick around
Well-
and you haven't trained them to be the best that they can be. Isn't that worse than having somebody potentially leave? You need to figure out why they left, but I don't think not training them is the right choice.
I think it's a lot of matter of where the interests lie, right? Like where does a third party really have the interest that you have in the company? Now, obviously, it makes sense to third party a lot of stuff, but I think it's up to the owner of the business to decide where is really the most important parts, where my interest is, to make sure that it's completely aligned, because no one else will have the same interest as you to really get the business to where it should be.
Yeah, and if sales is hard, people may try to hire somebody prematurely before they learn the skill first, right?
Yeah.
They will not be part of your culture.
Yeah.
They will not be,
Well, cool. Have you guys, so Vance, is he in Collective Genius as well?
Yeah.
Okay, got it. So he helped you guys figure out the team. Is that where you learned predictive index?
Actually, he introduced us to predictive indexing. He's very good at also figuring out like the different letters and stuff.
Yeah, the different personality types and what they mean. So you guys just started out as you two. What was the next person that you brought on the team?
Oh, when we just started?
Yeah.
First was we had a cold caller, but it's really the transaction coordinator. I think was the most.
Okay, not even necessarily U.S. based, but just wanted to see what the sequence was for you guys.
And she's still with us, Michelle.
Awesome.
Yeah, Michelle. And
how many calls does she make a day?
She's the transaction coordinator, so the office manager. But that was, in retrospect, we discussed it. It was actually a very smart move, because this is the first thing that we felt that we kind of need to clear out for us to keep on focusing on doing those things ourselves to really figure out. And only then, once we figured out the system, et cetera, then we started to get acquisition, disposition, et cetera.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. So you got the office manager out. You got the cold calling off your plate.
The cold calling was first. I mean, first was like offshore.
The offshore
people, and then the U.S. The first one was Michelle. She's incredible and really helped us a lot with pretty much everything.
Mm-hmm. What were you guys doing before you got into wholesaling, and when was that?
I was building high rises in Manhattan, the development.
Okay, that's like pretty casual.
Yeah.
What was your role building the high rises?
So I had investors in Israel. For a long time, I worked for a developer, and then in 2014, I went independently, and I had investors from Israel, and I was the boots on the ground. I knew how to build the building from A to Z, including all the approvals.
Did you go to school for that?
I actually went to school for finance.
Okay.
So everything I learned was from that developer during that 8 years. They really invested
you learned it
a lot.
on the job, right?
Yeah, really, and I'll say they did invest a lot
Amazing.
in me to make sure that
And were you doing this with him, or were you doing your own thing?
No, I was doing. I was a salesman up in New York, and I sold the high-end moving services for I would say some of the richest people in New York City, and he's pretty humble, but like his last project was 400,000 square feet Amazon warehouse in Brooklyn, and he got it from like the beginning to
Oh my God, that's amazing. I'm sure the regulations and everything are just so daunting in New York.
And hiring the contractors and managing the project and dealing with the executives that he was basically representing Amazon's in building the team to build that facility. So, and that's I think part of the secret for our operation is I came from a sales background doing all the sales, and he from an operation
project
management background.
And it's going to help us a lot in our next endeavor, which is land. I would say land development, land entitlement, because there's a part of it that we both feel very comfortable with. We already have proof of concept in terms of what we're trying to do. We know the market, and that's where we are heading to.
That's fascinating, and I thought this would be a good way to end up, because I know you guys have steak waiting for you after this, but having done such a huge project, like a 400,000 square foot structure, what's intriguing for you about single family wholesales and then land? Because those would be smaller deals, right? Obviously, you guys have chosen and built a great business there. I'm curious why.
Yes, there's two parts. There's the avoidance part and the good part that I'm trying to get to. The avoidance is dealing with New York City, city zoning, etc. It's just daunting, and it's just not fun, and it's frustrating, and it just shouldn't be that complicated.
Yeah.
The good part is that you have a lot more one-on-one interactions with home sellers, direct interactions with, if we go to the city for rezoning, etc., with actually the team, the staff of the zoning, that you don't get that layer of intimacy in New York. You go through different people and consultants to get there. A lot more hands-on, a lot more intriguing. You can actually get further and get a lot more of your input into a project in this environment. Not to say that Charlotte has been a great market for us, generally speaking.
And just to be clear, that was a time where before we had the business, so he was working as the project
before
manager.
we met.
Yes.
Right.
So it wasn't that we had a 400,000 square foot. I just want to make sure it's not confusing. We didn't have a 400,000 square foot new built in New York. That was his role, and he managed the project.
But then, as I understand, you had gotten investors, and then you put together like the high-rise projects, right?
Yeah.
So that was more than just a job, is what I understood.
For me, it was more like being on a commission.
Okay.
So I was more of a consultant.
So you didn't necessarily put the deal together, but you were paid a consulting fee.
To bring it to the
Yes,
end.
got it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Not like raising the money and
Yeah, I got you.
stuff like that. Would be weird, right? You do like 400,000 square feet Amazon warehouse, and then you go to single family.
Yeah. Not in that regard. No.
Yep.
Not that kind of project.
Amazon was the money behind it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the camera's going to stop recording in 30 minutes as well. So I want to wrap up and just thank you guys for sharing your journey. And it's incredible to see you guys go from Select to Premier, which is a volume thing, right? You went from 20 to 30 to over 50 to now 80. Mm-hmm. And it's no small feat. So, I mean, it's inspiring to hear that story. What advice would you give? And also, what's your social media handle? As like a final piece of advice for somebody who's brand new.
I would advise follow, if you're in, first of all, join CG. Second, get a mentor and actually follow up on all the advices. Find someone else who already done that and just do that.
Yeah, kind of don't reinvent the wheel.
Exactly.
But find what
Surround
worked for
yourself
somebody
with
else
people
and
who
reverse
already-
engineer that for yourself.
Exactly.
That's great. Do you have anything that you'd like to add?
If you're just getting started, I would say build your skills in the following order: marketing, sales, and then hiring. And that process takes about 2 to 3 years. And I would say in the first year and a half, just focus on your marketing and sales skill. Get this dialed in.
Do the work yourself.
Yeah, do the work yourself. Join groups like this, so you know how to build a team, and then from there, we feel right now the sky is the limit, really.
Yeah. And have you guys created a social media handle that people can find?
Yes. First of all, we have our website, atlasresidential.co. It's not .com, .co. We have Facebook, Atlas Residential Charlotte, at Atlas Residential.
Thanks for listening to the DealMachine Real Estate Investing Podcast. Please leave us a review and follow along wherever you're listening to your podcast.